Internets, hello you lovelies. Let's talk all about Gen V Season 2, Episode 6, coming off that incredible high of Episode 5, my favorite episode of Season 2. We are now at Episode 6, was a very different pace, tone, energy, everything that I was expecting for this episode. Going to be diving into this episode with full spoilers. If you're new to this page, I cover comic books, the books themselves. I read about 50 comics a week, and I review them on this page in a live stream every single week. I cover movies, all the major releases, and I cover a lot of genre-centric and shows that I really enjoy. So if you like movies, you like TV, and you like comic books, please subscribe to this page. I also would love if you press a like while you're pressing buttons. It helps the algorithm. And most of all, let's have a conversation about Gen V. Where do you think we're going with these last two episodes? What did you think of this right before the third act intensity episode? What do you think of the season so far? I'd love to hear your thoughts. All right, Gen V, Season 2, Episode 6. It's happened, guys. I didn't like an episode. I know people think I like everything, and I always espouse I generally don't review things I don't enjoy. But if it's in the middle of a season that I'm reviewing, if it's a giant movie people are going to be looking for a review from me for, there are exceptions to the rule. This is going to have to be one of those exceptions. I just could not find my way into connecting or caring as much as I felt like the energy of the show wanted me to. I thought the last episode did a really good job surprising you, changing expectations and like pivoting away from what you think would happen next. It would often go, left when you think it would go right, etc. This episode was the opposite. This episode was very formulaic. All the conversations you thought were going to happen happened, and they were kind of underwhelming with the stakes and scope of what they were meant to be. Like, this was the culmination of a season and a half of this show, of 3 years of this show. It's season 2, but in the time that we got The Boys season 4, this has been Marie looking for her sister. We had that insane reveal in episode 5 of her sister, and then this episode, their conversations didn't feel like they had the weight they deserved. They didn't feel that the reveal of her being a soup was as impactful as it should have been. They got out of that prison in like 30 seconds. I thought it was going to be like a prison break episode, and maybe some of that is my fault. Maybe expectations were high, or I was thinking of one thing, it went the other, and I judged it, but they just got out of there. And that was the whole crux of this season, was how insane it was to get out of this place. Now, I know they had different powers, and they had Sam helping out and all these things, but it felt very anticlimactic that they just like ran out and got in a van after this was like this crazy prison and like all the setup and tension. And then the Sam-Emma conversation we all knew was coming didn't really feel deserved yet. Sam last episode was like, I need to be on new meds. I'm really more broken than I thought. And the reveal that it was his own mental that was augmented by the V. And now he's like, all right, sorted it out, figured it out. And then the relationship with Jordan has always felt very much like the female version of Jordan is much more connected to Marie, and I thought that was intentional. And it might just be the chemistry of actors, and both Jordan actors are incredible, but I've always felt the connection more between Marie and London, who plays the female Jordan, and I thought that was going to be a conversation here when the male Jordan lays down with Marie at the end, and instead that conversation was weird and stilted and felt like it came out of nowhere. And then the end, she just gets up and is like, I'm going to make a bad decision here. I'm going to go probably back to Cypher. And I feel like the commentary is supposed to be, last time she abandoned her friends, it was to be selfish. This time she's abandoning them to be, selfless. But there's no reason for her to do that now. She doesn't have, the knowledge of where she's going or what to do when we've got Godolkin with all this knowledge that could actually save them. And the biggest issue I had in this episode was that it felt like we were supposed to have the Odessa reveal be this huge reveal, and they've been building up to it for, hours of TV of this season. And then the Homelander thing felt like it was just received like, well, all right, well, like there was a little bit of like, no, but it was very, all right, on to the next. I have always thought she was going to be Homelander's equal. So maybe that's on me for assuming, and then it was a bigger reveal for other folk. And I'd love to know in the comments if you thought that. But that was all very like delivered. I don't know, like there was a lot of melodrama, but then when I felt like there should be more of an impact, there wasn't. And then there were moments that were just like really big, and I was like, the fight with the Thor guy was fun. It didn't really make sense for where Marie is with her powers, though. She's been able to fight, much stronger people. She is also able to fight himself to a bigger standstill, and now that she's more powerful, she didn't use her blood powers at all, and like they needed Sam to do all the defensive fighting before, we got the Newman's kid to come in and save the day. I will say it was cool to see, Newman's kid and to see where she ended up. It was cool to see Stanley and to get more Giancarlo Esposito. This is the first of the guest appearances from the boys that did feel like a bit of a cameo for the sake of a cameo. A lot of his exposition dumping. I don't know. Did not love this episode, as you can probably tell. Episode 5 is my favorite of the season. Episode 6 is probably my least favorite episode of the series so far, which is unfortunate, but that does mean we got all this exposition out, and we're hopeful for a 7 and 8 to be big. And now that we've gotten through this, we can have this big finale. That said, I did like the Cypher stuff this episode. It was cool to see Hamish Linklater, man, what an actor. After all of this control and always being ahead, now we see what happens when he starts to break. He's always been menacing and terrifying in control. Seeing him out of control be even more terrifying. The physical abuse, abusing Godolkin felt somehow so extra violent. Those slaps felt so brutal, like elder abuse is so horrible. So it was like seeing that helpless man just be attacked, seeing him attack Polarity, and like Polarity's the strong, capable guy, and he just got injured and he's having seizures now to take advantage of him, and that little like power of wills, that little fight. I really have dug almost every scene with Hamish Linklater. Any episode, that is still true here in this episode. I think his scenes were the highlight of this episode. Cypher is always terrifying and interesting. A lot of it just didn't work. Those scenes worked as ever. I think that I am intrigued where Emma ends up. I'm still very captivated by her finding herself and getting her own strength. I would like to see a little bit more depth from Sam as far as like where he's at in accepting his what's going on in his head. I hope we get some answers with, how Jordan's feeling, because it felt like Jordan was very distrustful of Marie as soon as we got that level up God mode and then hearing about Homelander. And then at the end, that was just not the case, seemingly. Like, oh, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Get a little sleep. I don't know. A lot of things just felt like yes and was needed. Like, we got half a point out. Like, the sister, we got the moment of telling that really nice story about her at Halloween, and then it felt like there was a but coming, and then the but never came because we cut back to something. There were so many scenes that felt like, okay, and then it just was like, oh, we gotta go to this other thing. So it felt simultaneously like too much exposition and not enough story to require this episode. So I don't know. I, again, think this got us to the point where it's going to give us a very great 7 and 8, which is what we're looking at for this final, big 2 finale. Our third act is upon us. We've got Marie and Kate separating. I do like the idea of that little fastball special of using their powers to help each other and augment the whole team. But I hope that we get more than that. I hope that everything, the writing and the tone, everything fixes itself as we get to the finale, and I think it will. This show has been so consistent. This is the first episode I haven't liked. Generally, it's been amazing, so I think we're going to get there again with 7 and 8. I would love to know what you guys think. What do you think is going to happen in 7 and 8? Was I wrong? Was this episode spectacular and I just didn't see something? Please let me know in the comments below. Please press like, plus press subscribe if you haven't already for this far into review. I usually like stuff, especially if I'm talking about it, but this one just didn't work for me, and that does happen, and I hope I was fair to it, at least in my critique, and I'm excited to and hopefully enjoy 7 and 8 quite a bit more, and I will see you for both of those, as well as Peacemaker coverage, as well as comic coverage and movie coverage. I will see you for all that right here. Appreciate you guys. Bye.